Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Subaru's sales results for the month of January. Now, if we look back at the full year of 2025, Subaru was actually down 3% versus 2024. And unfortunately, it was kind of accelerating in the wrong direction in the month of December. They were down 7%. There's some highlights in there, mainly like, legacy, leftover sales doing well, the Ascent somehow pulling out a positive number, but pretty much all their other cars were a negative. Like the Crosstrek was even down. Their number one seller, Forester, was down, and the Outback was just slightly down. Now we finally have numbers for January. Are they going to break that trend, that negative trend of poor sales versus the prior year? Well, if we look at the tally, the market was actually up, at least from those reporting to Automotive News. Namely, the brands that were up in January were Hyundai up 2%, Honda up about 2%, Kia up 13%, Lexus up 15%, Toyota up 7%. Then you see Mazda down 14%. I already covered Mazda being heavily affected by tariffs. So is Subaru. Very affected. They bring in Mazda, Subaru, bring in a lot of vehicles from Japan. And seeing Subaru down 9%, this is not tracking well. Remember, they were down 3%. All right, for the entire 2025. So we're on over at the Subaru newsroom. Subaru reports January 2026 sales. Now, here's the lone highlight. The Forester had its best ever January. We also have some news. Hybrids have just started production at the Indiana plant. Indiana plant is the only plant Subaru has in America to avoid tariffs. And the Forester hybrid is the first vehicle running off the assembly line there as a hybrid for Subaru. So that's the good news. Good news is more hybrids coming out. Good news is that they also have, if you guys want EVs, Subaru's got the Trail Seeker and the Uncharted coming out, which are clones of Toyota EVs as the CHR and BZ Woodland. They already have the Solterra, which is the clone of the BZ Toyota. I know it's confusing, but every Subaru EV has a Toyota clone. All right, and that's by design. Subaru is owned about 20% by Toyota. So Subaru is almost like a wing of Toyota, like not quite like Lexus, all right, but it's not that far removed from being a fully owned subsidiary, because Toyota has pretty much full control over Subaru, I would say. Subaru is quite proud that every Forester is now built in Indiana, including the hybrid and wilderness models. Now, Outback was down, they say, as retailers work to transition from the old model to the all-new 2026 Outback. All right, so let's get into these sales figures. Let's see what's doing well for Subaru, what's not. Let's start with the Ascent. Well, the Ascent actually had a positive end. All right, they were up 7% in December for the Ascent, but remember, it was down 21% for the year. All right, so if we go back, well, it's back to reality. It's down in the dumps again, the Ascent. Now, keep in mind, this vehicle could be replaced by an EV Ascent built in Kentucky at a Toyota plant, Toyota's biggest plant in the world, actually, TMMK. The new Highlander EV is going to be built there. That reveal, I'll bring it to you in the flesh, February 10th. Subaru, it's not confirmed, but everyone in the industry that knows the supply chain and knows the ins and outs, TMMK is supposed to also build the Subaru EV Ascent. We'll just call it the EV Ascent because I don't have another name for it. Alongside of the new Highlander EV in Kentucky, as well as the Lexus TZ. So there'll be a Lexus variant as well. So you have three-row EVs, just different styles of the same EV, really. A Subaru, a Toyota, and a Lexus. All right, we won't have to wait more than in 5 days. We'll have the reveal, or less, depending on when you're watching this. So Ascent, it's going to struggle. Is it going to be saved if it only goes EV forward? I'm not saying it is going EV only, but it's possible. Like the Highlander is going EV. Toyota can do that because they have the Sienna, They have Grand Highlander, they have 4Runner, they have Sequoia, they have tons of 3-row vehicles. Subaru just has the Ascent as the only 3-row vehicle. So it's more of a gamble if they were to bring it fully electric. But, and actually, if it's a good fully electric, maybe it's more enticing because the Ascent is not competitive. Okay. CVT turbo, it's not that, it's pretty small on the inside. All right. The Ascent, it doesn't look great. Like, I haven't reviewed the Ascent in probably 3 or 4 years, and I'm okay with that. Okay, they haven't updated it, and it just is not competitive in the 3-row segment when you have things like the Grand Highlander, the Pilot, heck, even the V6 powered Pathfinder from Nissan, which is very affordable. And now you have the juggernauts in the lineups, which are the redesigned Palisade and the redesigned Telluride. And the Ascent is just so far down. The Ascent might even be less desirable than the Volkswagen Atlas. You don't want to be compared to Volkswagen right now, whose sales are in the absolute dumps. Okay, so the Ascent is just, it's probably the weakest, the absolute weakest Subaru. BRZ was up, even though the GR86 was down for Toyota. Crosstrek up or down. Crosstrek down 10%. I don't know why. Okay, I want to look at availability for Crosstrek. Availability seems to be quite good on this. There's over 500 in my area. That's not including the hybrid. There's only 21 hybrids. That could be the issue. Okay, so if we just weed out the hybrids, I love the neon green. I haven't driven the Subaru hybrids yet. I'm still waiting to get them in my press fleet. I'm waiting. Hopefully I can get them in. Okay, here's the issue with the Crosstrek. There's not enough hybrid production. If you missed my video I posted yesterday or whenever you're watching this, okay, I posted it on Toyota's only hybrid. So the only hybrid in this segment that goes against a Crosstrek, besides a Crosstrek now, is the Corolla Cross. But the Corolla Cross hybrid sales are down. Even though Corolla Cross sales are way up, it's all gas model. While Toyota can't supply, for whatever reason, the hybrid of the Corolla Cross. Well, Subaru can't supply the hybrid Crosstrek. And since they cannot supply it, I think you have people just waiting for better availability, or maybe they're on a wait list for a Crosstrek hybrid because, well, availability is good on the gas model and sales are down a lot on this model, 10%. I firmly believe, okay, until maybe you guys can enlighten me, but I really believe it's because this buyer has been waiting for the Crosstrek hybrid and it's just not available. And so they're like, oh, I'll just wait. I'm not going to buy the gas model. That's not maybe the majority, but that could be the reason why it's down double digits. It's because they want the Crosstrek hybrid and there just isn't any, even though there's seemingly discounts on these things, $2,000 discounts. Well, why is there discounts? They're just too expensive for what it is. Okay, $34K still? Like, you can get a full-size bigger vehicle hybrid like a CR-V for around $34K or a Tucson for around $34K hybrids. All right, so Subaru hybrids are priced pretty darn high versus their direct competition. And as a result, you're going to see more than likely $2,000, maybe more discounts on their hybrid model. Yeah, lack of availability on the Crosstrek hybrid is probably why that vehicle is down. There's also tariffs. The lower trims, the base and the premium, are built in Japan at the Gunma factory. The higher trims with the 2.5 liter are made in the USA, okay, at the Lafayette, Indiana plant. All right, so you have split production there. And again, no hybrid Crosstrek production that I'm aware of quite yet in America. Now, the Forester hybrid's being made, but I don't know. Okay, if we go back to this press release here, they assembled the Ascent, the Crosstrek, and the Forester there. I just don't know when the Crosstrek hybrid will start production, okay, in Indiana. But the Forester guys, look at this radical change in Forester sales, up 22%. What in the world? The Forester is guns blazing right now, selling 16,000 units. Let's go back to the Subaru sales here, or the Subaru availability. We look at the Forester. Okay, well, the Crosstrek has good availability, but the Forester has better availability. Over 655 available with 81 as a hybrid. Okay, the hybrids are just $3,000 discounts. These hybrids are too expensive. All right, for Subaru. They're going to have to keep discounting. These things probably need to be around $33K entry-level hybrid price. They're just very, very expensive. And you saw many of them over $40,000 a second ago. So hybrid is still high demand, very low availability. And the Forester in general has great availability right now, contributing to a massive sales spike. It's best January ever. The Impreza though, Impreza down 52% and the Legacy down 52%. Well, the Legacy is dead. All right. So anything left you see here, that's a leftover residual production. Okay. They haven't made it for a few months now, the Legacy. All right. Outback down 23% as they are struggling to get this vehicle on track. Okay. So you could say the Subaru, so look, Subaru's down 4,000 units. Okay. 2,000 of that plus is because they haven't got the Outback production to where it needs to be. All right. Outback is made exclusively in Japan. All right. In the past, they had built it in Lafayette, Indiana. However, starting with the new model year, production is shifted back to Japan. The Outback is no longer being made in Japan, in the United States. Crosstrek hybrid still hasn't started production here in the United States. Impreza is 100% made in Japan. It's going to be a few months before the Outback is humming along at high production volumes. All right. And we still don't have an Outback hybrid yet. We could see it mid-2026 for an Outback hybrid. So you're just going to have to sit tight there. Maybe some Outback people are waiting for the Outback hybrid. Future Kirk coming at you. I realized I didn't look up like what Subaru Outback availability is like. I looked up in my area. There's only 270 of the new models. Okay. There is 334 models. So most of the models out there, like I would say 75% of the new models out there are the new model. Okay. And this is not good news for Subaru. The Subaru Outback just came out. New design, and it's very controversial on the outside, okay, because it looks less wagony than ever, and it's more like it doesn't look that much different in stature compared to the Santa Fe I'm driving, except the Santa Fe looks better, a lot better in my opinion. That's just me. This vehicle is already seeing price drops. This is not what you want to see as a Subaru dealer. It's not what you want to see as Subaru corporate. Your brand new model has very low availability, okay? Meaning all these models come over from Japan and they haven't received the volume that they're asking for, the dealers. All right. Availability is actually down quite a bit. Okay. Again, 270 of the new model versus a Crosstrek at 433 versus a Forester at 600. The demand for this, despite the availability being really low, the demand is very low. Okay. When we're seeing price drops, guys, look, about a $3,000 price drop on this model, on this premium model. I kind of like the wheels on it. You're seeing $2,000 to $3,000 price drops on a car that just came out, which is traditionally your best selling. Well, I wouldn't say best selling, but one of the best sellings, right up there with the Forester and the Crosstrek. I remember when they communicated the pricing on the new Outback, and it was a big price increase. Okay. All Subarus have got a big price increase, especially the ones most affected by tariffs. All right. So this seeing $3,000 price drops is not a good sign for this model. It's not a good sign for Subaru. Some of these priced at $47,000. There's no way. This and you got to keep in mind the base Outbacks are severely underpowered, okay, with the 2.5 naturally aspirated. They're really, really doggish, and you're paying a lot of money for such a slow and poor performing vehicle. The last time I drove an Outback, it was a previous model. The throttle was not linear, meaning it was detuned for emissions. So even though it had like good power and torque, it was really locked away. I'm getting like power surges in here. Good thing my computer's running on a battery and my camera's running on a battery. But yes, that was weird. Maybe it's because I'm not saying nice things about Subaru, so the Subaru gods are coming down on me right now. But like Subaru, the old turbo Outback, you had to constantly nanny the pedal to get the linear performance that you're expecting from the throttle. and the pedal was just not responsive at all, even with the turbo model. It's like having a stubborn horse or a stubborn mule. Okay, you want it to go, you're pushing it to go and it's not going. Okay, that was the transmission logic and the throttle logic. Maybe it can be fixed with like an ECU flash. All right, I'm familiar with that with motorcycles, but I don't know if it's that easy to do on a Subaru, for example. I just wanted to express my concerns for the new Outback. Price drops right out the gate, and availability is not even close to where traditional market demand is for this vehicle. Really, really concerning, but I'll keep an eye on it as we go forward in the year. It's not just Subaru, guys, that's struggling with supply and demand. Unless you're Toyota, Lexus, every manufacturer, to varying degrees, every manufacturer is struggling with supply and demand, because if there's too much supply and not enough demand, they have to cut prices, and that's the last thing they want to do. They would rather just, hey, okay, well, let's keep supply in check. We're okay with not selling as many cars, some of them anyways, okay? Some of these manufacturers, they're okay with not selling as many cars so that they can protect their margins. And it's just odd times as well, because now the manufacturers have to contend with tariffs, which is going to force them to do things that we probably haven't seen on the market before. And whether that means price hikes, all right, but again, Subaru increased the prices of their cars a lot, especially like killing off base level trims on certain models over the past year. The new Outback is very expensive. I just don't know how well it's going to favor them in the short term and the long term. Anyways, let's get back to the programming. Solterra. Well, this is fascinating. Solterra is down 45%, but if we look at Toyota sales on the BZ, it's up like 24%. If you guys can riddle me that, why the clone of the BZ, the Solterra, is down 45%, but the BZ's up like 26% or whatever it was, I don't understand it. It's the same car. Now, maybe the people prefer the styling of the Toyota more because they look very different now, the new Solterra and the BZ. Previously, they looked more similar. Now they looked very different vehicles. Not looking good. All right. No EV tax credit. Maybe Subaru doesn't care to sell that many of them compared to Toyota right now. It's really weird why they're down so much on the Solterra. Now, keep in mind, Solterra is going to have some company this year. All right. Subaru is launching soon in the next month or two, the new Trail Seeker, which is the wagon. Think of it as an EV Outback, except it's fast as hell. 375 horse, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Okay. And then you're going to have the new CHR rebadge, which is called the Uncharted for Subaru. So Subaru is going to have 3 to 4 EVs very soon. If the Ascent EV comes out soon, we don't know. All right. It could be by the end of this year or sometime next year for the Ascent EV. All right. So Subaru is going to have almost an EV equivalent of every single model in their lineup. All right. You could say that the Forester, that is the Solterra. The Solterra is the EV Forester. Okay. The Crosstrek, well, the EV variant of that is the Uncharted. The Ascent is going to have an EV built in Kentucky. All right. The WRX and the BRZ are not going to have EV alternatives. The Outback, well, that's the Trail Seeker. Okay, so you're pretty much going to have EV equivalents for their best-selling models. The Crosstrek as the Uncharted, the Forester already exists as a Solterra, and the Outback is going to have an EV equivalent in the Trail Seeker. So how much will they help sales, Subaru? I have no idea, because EVs, one, they don't have EV tax credit, and two, they are still niche. They're never going to be a volume seller in the next few years in America anyway. So Subaru's not looking good for them. They will get some reprieve when Outback volume matches demand. It's just not there. All right. They're finally building hybrids in Indiana for the Forester and hopefully for the Impreza soon. Sorry, not the Impreza, the Crosstrek soon. The Impreza, the Crosstrek, and the Outback are quite, and even the Solterra, because it's built in Japan, those are quite affected by tariffs. And we'll see how much volume could be affected by tariffs. So we know it's affecting Mazda quite heavily in some aspects, especially their Mexican-made vehicles. But Subaru doesn't make any vehicles in Mexico. They all come from Japan, or at least half of them come from Japan. All right. So they won't, yes, they're affected by tariffs, but not nearly as bad as these companies that bring in cars from Canada and Mexico for the time being, which will get hit with a 25% tariff. Japan, as well as European cars, get hit with a 15% tariff. So Subaru, their sales will rebound, I would say, a little bit once Outback comes. But let's say Outback comes and matches demand. All right. Well, they get 2,000 units back. All right. They're still going to be down maybe 2,000 units unless they can fortify Crosstrek sales. They have their work cut out for them, but I don't see it as an insurmountable task this year. So I think they'll continue to do better. And the EVs will supplement their sales volume for sure. The longevity of the BRZ, who knows? That this vehicle could be replaced by a new GR86 not developed with Subaru instead of Subaru be developed with Mazda. So this vehicle could be gone. It's pretty odd vehicle all these years later still for it to exist within the Subaru lineup. They're kind of like strong-armed by Toyota to make this car with them. It's a rear-wheel drive sports car. Subaru's always been all-wheel drive, right? It's really bizarre. And the WRX, I mean, the sales down 23%. It's very expensive for what it is. It's a very niche car. They don't want to oversupply these. They all come from Japan. So the sales on this car will continue to be bad until they eventually kill it and replace it probably with a full EV at this point. Yippee. So thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned for more Subaru updates here on the channel. I know a few of my colleagues are going to be driving the new Subaru EVs very soon at a Subaru Media Drive. So keep your eyes peeled for driving impressions, but just wait for my driving impressions on the Toyota counterparts because they are identical. Other than looks, other than exterior design, they are identical. The BZ Woodland to the Trail Seeker and the CHR to the Uncharted. So I will end it there. Let me know if you've been looking for a Subaru, if you've been waiting for a specific trim level, or you're waiting on the Outback for better availability, you're waiting on the Crosstrek hybrid, which there are like none out there, or if you're waiting on the Forester hybrid. Let me know. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. But the Forester is the star of the show right now, and it's the only high volume model for Subaru that is doing well outside of the BRZ, which is niche, low volume. That vehicle's up. But the Forester is the only one really, really doing well for Subaru to start the year off. Have a great day, guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.